really special of you to come all that way. Really happy about that. And I have a few people to thank. First of all, I have to say thank you to the Ontario Arts Council for an exhibition assistant grant that I received from them. So I have to say that, and thank you, Ontario Arts Council. The next person I wish to thank is Melissa Laporte, curator and director of this gallery, this beautiful gallery, and Sabrina for being with me tonight, and the people that hung the show. And I have to look at my little notes because there are people that I don't know. Sabrina was one of them. Alice Ann.
Thank you.
Jasmine, I forgot Jasmine. And I think there's a couple of others. Sabrina, was anybody else?
Angelica help us, Angelica
Okay.
Bradley, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
And there were some contributors to this show that were out of town. Well, there was Laura Landers brought this in for me, and Walter Pate, this one. My friend Pauline from North Bay brought in a few. And my daughter Chris from Guelph. There's a picture of her as a little child over there. She has some. And Bruce Bourgeau, my son, brought some. And I also want to thank Walter and Maria for having the delicious refreshments. That was great. And those are all the people that I wanted to thank, and I don't know how you're going to go next, Sabrina. What happens next?
You can tell us more about the show, the retrospective. We can also ask questions when you're done.
Okay. I think it's good to say that I had my first exhibition when we moved up from Windsor to North Bay at the other gallery on where the library was. And that was in 1984. And I had it with a friend of mine from North Bay. And then this exhibition, which I feel is a long time, it's not exactly 60, it's more like 58. I felt really old when you said that.
My apologies.
So I feel as if I've come full circle. And coming back to a gallery that I absolutely love. I just love this place up here. I love the people here. And I was a member of the Temiskaming Palette and Brush Club for 5 years. And got to know some of the people here. And the scenery here is awesome. So if you could follow me around, I'd like to start at the beginning, over here, and say a little bit about that. And then I'll just skip along. And if you have any questions, I would like you to just speak up and ask me, okay?
Okay, come on.
Is it going to be hurting things?
Okay, I'm going to start here with this very first one. I started in oil, and that was 1964. And, oh, hi, come on in. And I was on a workshop in North Hatley, Lake Massawippi. It's a beautiful spot, south of Montreal. And I don't think I touched oil. I did it for a few years after that, but that was my beginning. And I did some sketches, a lot of Powassan Hills in the early 80s. And I had taken a course for a few months, and we went out and did a lot of plein air sketching and things. Beth and I went to a workshop on Lake Superior, and they had these little, what are they? Sandpipers, I think. Yeah, sandpipers going along the beach. My daughter was about 5 years old there, and she liked to squeeze frogs, so she was holding that frog. I think she was going to squeeze it to death. It was just bulging. And when I took the picture, then I had several other pictures that I learned how to transfer photographs. So that was kind of interesting. This is a painting of my son Bruce at a local spot that you know all about. I'm going to skip along here. I wanted to tell you how I got doing these quilted landscapes. I explain it somewhat in my books that are over there, you can take a look at. But around the 1990s, I was with a friend of mine, Eileen O'Connor. We were doing banners for the church, 4 feet by 8 feet big banners. And sometimes we painted on canvas, other times we did a banner that was totally in cloth, and I machine stitched and things like that. And with the quilt in between, then I thought, why don't I take just the canvas, do a scene on the canvas in acrylic, put the quilt lining in between with another layer underneath, just like you would with a quilt, stretch it really tight, and I probably put some safety pins, you know, if you're a quilter, you understand you don't want it to move. And then I would take it to the sewing machine and did zigzag stitching in places that I wanted to emphasize. And then after I did that, I stretched it over, it was styrofoam, but somewhere I got the edge, you could bring the fabric around and tuck it in and secure it at the back. So it's a big painting, but it's very, very light because there's no wood. There's just styrofoam and plastic. And then I would go around and add another piece as if it were a mat or something, you know? So that's the way I did this one and this one and the one over there. Yeah. And I did quite a few more, but they're not in the show. So they're in the books, you can see there. So I'll go around to explain a little bit about this. This belongs to Laura Landers, but it was one of the when I took printmaking at the University of Windsor, and I learned etching and cutting right into the metal by hand. And so when I came north, lo and behold, there was a press at the art gallery. And so I was really happy to see that. But I couldn't do any etching because they didn't have the facilities to get rid of the fumes and things. So I had to choose different methods of printmaking. So I delved into colograph, and I really enjoyed it. I was explaining to my friend Denise how I did it. But there's a lot of preparation to do a print. You have to think ahead of time, and you have to do it in layers. So it's sort of suited the way I like to work. You know, like methodically think ahead. You see, I'm going to go along here a little bit more. Any questions? You're interested in anything? Just speak up. Okay. This was a lino cut that I used, that I did as a challenge. The theme was given to us for anybody that wanted to do something about let the mystery enfold us. So at the time I was involved with the labyrinth at the Mother House, and I kind of like the idea of the earth being a circular environmental place, a place that we love. And this theme was carried on into another exhibition that I did with 5 printmakers, Walter and Faye were 2 of those, and myself and Kathy Cribbs and Maureen Stewart, right. And I just sometimes I'll just get blank once in a while. But that was, I really loved that show too. I have a few pieces from that show in here. This one, I went to Toronto and saw at the Art Gallery of Ontario, and Patterson Ewan was working on huge pieces of plywood. And he used a router to go into that plywood, and then he used oil paint and painted over top. And I just fell in love with the idea of working on such a big piece and using a router. So as soon as I went home, I went to Canadian Tire and bought myself a router and asked my husband to show me how to use it, because I didn't know how to use it. And so, I mean, this for me was quite large compared to what I was doing before. But I used the router and was able to put the ink on, but then I colored it with watercolor afterwards. And I was able to use the same plate and used it for, this is the winter one. I had one that was summer and the sun's shining through. So that was a big leap forward for me. This was in the show with Walter and Faye, and that was the Sacred Earth one.
That's a wood print too, right?
Yes, no, it's lino print, but same idea, you know, printing on top. In the book there, I explain, I have pictures that show the process that I used, because there's 2 plates involved with that. A plexiglass and a lino. So those that have done printmaking understand how you have to do one and then the other on top. Okay, when in 2016 my husband died and I sold the house, and I got to the point where I needed to move to an apartment, which is where I am now. And I wasn't really up to doing a lot of printmaking at that time. So I thought I have to use where I can have enough room. So I went into smaller pieces and I stayed with acrylic. That's why we have acrylic a little bit more. So I had to say goodbye to my printmaking, which I enjoyed for many, many years. But I'm not finished yet, I hope. Behind you there. Those people that know North Bay and the area will notice that this one here, it doesn't look like it, but it's the one coming into Powassan from south. And you know, they're rolling hills around Powassan. And I took quite a bit of liberty of exaggerating things, but
I love the red room.
Eh?
I love the red room.
yeah. And the one that in the middle there with the woodblock print, and that I went to Ireland with my friend Pauline, and she teases me to this day that anywhere I saw a stone circle, I have to get out and take pictures. So even in the pouring rain, and so I had to put a stone circle in there. So about in the middle there's a stone circle, and the rest is more acrylics and a collage there. I guess that's it. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Janet.
Thank you so much, Janet.